Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. As we read the story of Samson, we find pretty clearly that Samson was not perfect. There's often times where Samson acted out on his own impulses, sometimes acting in very selfish ways. Definitely not following the golden rule, as he said that he did unto the Philistines as they did unto him, instead of what Christ said that however you would want to be treated, that's the way you should treat others. He definitely wasn't a perfect judge. He wasn't a model uh, a model person to follow God in a lot of ways. But there is at least one good thing about Samson that I think is admirable and something that we need to implement in our own lives as we walk before the Lord. And that is, with all of Samson's faults, one thing he seemed to recognize pretty clearly is that his strength came from the Lord. Even though he might have used his strength for selfish ends, to act on his impulses and things like that, he at least recognized that his strength came from the Lord. And this becomes evident as Delilah, uh, time and time again, tries to get him to tell her where his strength lies. And of course, it takes a few times. Samson lies to her, but then eventually, because she's so persistent, he gives in. And this is what he tells her in chapter 16 and verse 17. He says, it says, "So he told her all that was in his heart and said to her, a razor has never come on my head, for I have been a Nazarite to God from my mother's womb. If I am shaved, then my strength will leave me, and I will become weak and be like every other man." So he recognized the fact that his strength came from the Nazarite vow, the fact that he was consecrated unto God. That's why he had his strength. And if he were to cut his hair and break that vow, he knew that that strength would vanish. And he says that he would be like any other man. This also becomes evident, we'll read about this tomorrow, after they do cut Samson's hair, and he becomes weak, and then he becomes imprisoned. When he's brought out and they're making a mockery of him, it says in verse 28 of chapter 16, "Then Samson called to Yahweh and said, O Lord Yahweh, please remember me, and please strengthen me just at this time, O God, that I may at once be avenged of the Philistines for my two eyes." And they had gouged out his eyes, and he's saying, "Lord, give me strength, just this one time, so I can be avenged." Again, showing that he recognized the fact that his strength came from Yahweh. He went to the Lord in prayer when he needed strength. And so we can see throughout his life, it wasn't that Samson, believed that he had strength in and of himself, that somehow he had acquired that strength. He did recognize that his strength came from the Lord. And that's the important thing for us to realize as well. We also are consecrated unto God. We are a holy priesthood, a royal priesthood before God, his holy people, a peculiar people set apart unto him. We are a temple of the Holy Spirit. We are God's chosen people. And so we are very much consecrated unto God. And in connection to that consecration comes the strength that God supplies us. Strength to overcome temptation, strength to overcome trials, strength to do his work. The Lord supplies us with strength just as he gave Samson strength. Now, we may not be picking up gates with bars and killing 1,000 people with the jawbone of a donkey, but it's not physical strength, but it is an inward strength that God gives us to live the overcoming life and to do his work and to basically live a life that honors him. And it's important for us to realize that our strength comes from the Lord, and that it's from him that we are able to accomplish anything. Christ says in John chapter 15 that apart from me, you can do nothing. And then also the Apostle Paul says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so the idea here is that we too have a strength, a power that comes to us, but it's not from our own resources, it's from God himself. And so it's important for us to realize that this this power that we receive, this strength that we receive, is derived from our consecration unto God and ultimately comes from Him. And so it's important for us, if we want to be strong over temptation, if we want to be strong over trials, if we want to be strong when it comes to doing God's work, we must always commit ourselves to the consecrated life, offering up our bodies as a living sacrifice unto God, stepping into the role of priest and priestess before Him and living that life of consecration, because we know that it's through that consecration that God supplies us with the strength to live a life that honors Him. And we need to eliminate those aspects of our life that perhaps cuts our hair, that invades on our consecration before God, whether it's bad influences in our lives from people, whether it's from entertainment that's a bad influence, or maybe it's bad habits that we have. It could be a lot of different things, but cutting out those things that cut our hair, that rob us of the strength that God supplies us, making no provision for the flesh to fulfill its lust thereof, as the Apostle Paul says in the book of Romans, but walking according to the Spirit, stepping into that consecrated life, gathering strength from the Lord to overcome temptation, trials, and to do His work, so that we can once again live a life of consecration, being empowered by Him to please Him and to give honor and glory to His name. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.